Hi everybody, my name is Eric and I'm an operations specialist here at VictorOps.
And I'm Jason Hand, DevOps Evangelist here at VictorOps.
All right, well, we just wanted to get together today and run through a quick demo of the VictorOps platform and just highlight some of the key features and functionality for you friendly folks out there. I'm gonna go ahead and jump into a screen share here.
By the way, if you happen to have any questions as we go through the demo, feel free to send us an email. You can reach me at jason@victorops.com, or you can get Eric at erik@victorops.com. And of course, you can always send something into support@victorops.com as well. But yeah, don't hesitate to reach out to us with any kind of questions you might have. We're happy to talk to you.
Absolutely. All right, so what we have here is our primary web interface. It's worth noting right now that we also have a native Android and iOS client that both mimic this same feel as this web client. The web client is obviously easier to go through for demonstration purposes. We really built this product out of just a history of most of our careers being on call and just knowing the pain that people experience doing that. That's kind of what VictorOps platform is born out of. So I'm gonna go ahead and start here over on the left side. This is what we call our people pane. This is gonna be the full list of all the members of your organization. When you go up to the top here, these top 5 people each have an oak leaf next to their name, and that is to denote that they are currently on call. And the team that they're currently on call for is listed here in the orange.
Yeah, and I want to point out too, as you can probably see there underneath my name, that it is possible to be on call for multiple teams.
Yes. As you scroll down through these 5 people, you get to these 2 who both have a green dot next to their name. We have that there to show that they are actually currently present in the app. They're logged in. They're effectively paying attention. That green dot will decay over time until it kind of gets to just this faded green dot here. This just kind of speaks to the collaborative nature of the platform, in that you may be on call for a given team, something might come in that's outside your technical acumen. This is just kind of an easy way to see who is around and paying attention to maybe pull them into the firefight and ask for help from your peers. You can also click on these people's name. This will list their email address and their phone number. You can also kind of have sidebar conversations within our platform as well. All of us have different things we do, whether it be skiing, playing in sport leagues and stuff like that. My boss, Tom, has 2 kids and he's constantly busy coaching. So if you find yourself at a time where you're gonna be out of pocket for a little bit, you can actually reach out and just say, whoop, hey, can somebody take on call for 2 hours? And I misspelled his name here, but basically this will send a push notification out if you're requesting a teammate to take on call, and they can just hop in here and actually click take on call. This effectively will pass the baton or the pager, and then it's their responsibility once they're done to take on call back. All right, here. Now I'm gonna go ahead and hop into our middle pane here. This is just our main timeline. We are trying to introduce the social media aspect to infrastructure management. So this is supposed to have a look and feel similar to Twitter. You have any of your monitoring solutions that send in tickets or alerts are going to be coming into this center pane here. And this is going to be the kind of the high level overview of what you have going on. This is going to show all of your on-call changes, critical alerts and warnings, and resolutions as well. And now I'm going to have Jason go ahead and talk about the right side.
Yeah, so as Eric was mentioning here in our main timeline, you can always see sort of a high-level summary of what's going on. And of course, you can go into more information to see additional information on that alert. But you can also come over, if you need to sort of kind of keep things a little bit more organized or compartmentalized, you can come over here and you can look at some of the alerts individually. And at this point, this kind of allows me to maybe make a comment. Let's see if I can just add a comment here. When I put some sort of a note or some sort of comment on this particular incident, it's going to automatically add some hashtags in here. So this sort of allows me to kind of keep things together. Now, of course, that alert or that comment also goes into the timeline right here. But now I can always just sort of come back into this one particular alert and know that all of the information I'm seeing in this screen is only relevant to that one specific alert. So that way, you know, if you've got a lot of information kind of going into your timeline, maybe it gets a little bit sort of noisy in there, you still have one area where you can come over and sort of just pay attention or discuss with your teammates how you're handling this one specific incident. And of course, you also have the ability to ACK it and reroute it to a different team from this side as well. Speaking of those, you know, I showed you how you can do it from within the details, but you can also ACK from right here. And of course, that's going to show up in our timeline that that incident was just ACKed. Similarly, I can come in here, and if I've taken a look at this incident and I realize that this just isn't something I have the expertise to resolve, or I'd like to at least send it on to a different team who I think might be better at resolving this issue, or at least looking into it, I can go ahead and send it off to one team or even multiple teams. And when I hit reroute, again, it's going to show up in the timeline what I just did. You can see that I have now routed the incident to everyone and from everyone to database and DevOps, but it's also stopped paging a couple of the people that were part of the team it was originally assigned to. And now it's starting to reach out to individuals who are part of the new teams that it has been routed to. So you can kind of see how now you're able to hand off incidents from specific people or specific teams over to different parts of your team, and it'll start going through their paging policy.
All right. It's also worth noting that this is, you know, reroute function is especially helpful for organizations that use a knock, kind of quarterbacking all the alerts that are coming in. You can, you know, the knock can effectively use this just to send it to the teams that they need to reach out to. Additionally, if you have, you know, hundreds of alerts flooding into your timeline at one time and your phone is blowing up, you can also ACK all to kind of quiet that out. Up here we have some filters in the main timeline. This is really helpful for just removing noise, on-call changes, or you know, different things that just plague the timeline here. Additionally, we have filtration for my incidents that you're currently handling or your team's incidents as well. I'm going to go ahead and have Jason speak to our scheduling.
Yeah, so within the settings tab, we now are looking at the team schedules. And we've got a number of teams already in here. Of course, you can at any point come up here and add an additional team. But I'm just going to show you some of the teams we've already got. For example, we've got a database team here. We've got a follow the sun team that we had set up to sort of demonstrate how you can set up a follow the sun sort of policy. But let's take a look at the database. If I go into the database team, this is where we're going to take a look at the escalation policies. So within each team, you design how you want each member of that team to be notified and how you'd like to escalate that, you know, sort of that notification throughout your team. So in this example, we've got it set to immediately notify the primary person in that rotation. So the primary person that's part of the database team is going to get an immediate notification via push notification on their phone via the VictorOps app. If after 15 minutes, whoever was part or whoever was the primary person on the database team does not ACK or acknowledge that incident, it's going to then go out and look at this specific user and reach out to them. Now, of course, I can come here and I can change this. This is completely customizable. You can add sub-steps within main steps. This is just how we sort of have this demonstration set up. And of course, if another 15 minutes has passed, now we want to do, or what we want to do in this example, is actually execute a completely separate policy. So if the primary person hasn't ACKed on this incident, and then this user has come in or has not come in and ACKed, after another 15 minutes, we're just going to go ahead and hand it off to a different team, and it's going to start escalating through their escalation policy. Additionally, if another 15 minutes have gone by and still no one has ACKed, now it's going to notify this user. And of course, you can just keep adding as many steps and as many sub-steps as you want. So With that said, I'm going to move on down to rotations. This is where we can now design how we want to be notified. So I'm going to come in here and I'll show you one of the ones that we've already got set up. So in our primary rotation, if I go in here and just edit this shift, this is where you can see I want the handoff to happen every 7 days at a specific time. In this case, it's going to be 12. And then it shows me when the next handoff is going to take place. Of course, you can give it whatever kind of shift name you'd like, and you can adjust the time zone. So that's how you sort of modify any existing one. And now let me show you what it looks like when you go to create a new one. When I hit add rotation, I'm given the box here to just give this a rotation a name. So we can just give it something like demo. And from here, I'm going to decide, is this going to be a standard sort of 24/7 rotation? Do we want to go with a follow the sun rotation? Or maybe you've got some sort of custom deal that you've designed that's working really well for you, and neither the standard or the follow the sun kind of fits your little world. You can come in here and do something custom. So there shouldn't be any way that you wouldn't be able to design the rotation that works best for you and your team. Let's just exit that rather than creating a new one. Yeah, and so that's pretty much it. Of course, you can come down here and add additional shifts. We've got just a primary person and then my shift in here, and I can continue adding additional shifts to that same primary rotation. So with that, I'll hand it back over to Eric.
Cool. All right. Now let's go ahead and try and highlight the personal paging policy. So as you saw here, we're going to notify whoever's on call. Now, based on whoever's on call, they have their own personal paging policy that they can set up. This is our demo account, so we'll try and find somebody who actually has something kind of set up for real here. So as you can see here, Charlie, every 5 minutes until we've reached you, send an SMS to this number. It's also worth noting at this point that we do not charge additionally email and push, even if you're international, no additional charging for that.
Yeah, that's a great point. We get this question quite a bit. We were just out in Las Vegas for the AWS reInvent conference last week and had quite a few questions on how pricing works. And of course, we'll touch on that in just a moment, but there's never any additional pricing depending on the volume of SMS or phone calls that you make.
Yeah. It's also worth noting too, if you are in a trial or currently even a customer, just make sure you keep all of your information up to date, your phone number, email, and everything else, and even backup emails if you need to, just so we, if we're trying to reach you, we can actually get a hold of you. I'm going to go ahead and pop back out to the main timeline here and just quickly highlight something that we call maintenance mode. I'm going to go ahead and enter maintenance mode here. Now what this does, if you know that you're going to be taking a server offline and you don't want to flood your phone or your teammates' phones with tons of alerts that everything is offline, this is the way that you do that. What will still happen is we will still ingest all the data that comes in during the time that you're in maintenance mode, but you will not be paged during that time alerting you to those things. You will simply receive a message saying that you have entered maintenance mode, and everybody else will receive that notification as well. And then once you exit maintenance mode, you will also receive a notification.
Yeah, and this is a great feature too, not just for cases where you're about to disrupt your infrastructure and possibly create a lot of different alerts coming in, but maybe there's actually something going wrong and you're in here trying to diagnose and communicate with other members of your team. You really don't want your phone going crazy and sending you all kinds of push notifications and SMS alerts. You just sort of need to quiet the noise, or at least quiet the notifications for a little bit while you have or while you take the time to figure out what's going on and actually address the problem. So when you put it into maintenance mode, like Eric mentioned, we're not going to just stop bringing in all of the information that's relevant to whatever is going on, but we'll at least stop the push notifications and the alerts to your phone so you can kind of take a little breather and actually get to work on solving your problems.
Yeah. All right. We'll go ahead here. We'll start to highlight our integrations. Now, obviously, as many of you guys know, there are a myriad of different integrations and or monitoring solutions out there for your infrastructure. We have just some of the ones that we have formal integrations with listed here. Very easy to set up. If you need any assistance in getting that set up, not only can you reach out to us, we do this every single day. We're happy to jump in and assist. You can also reach our knowledge base. This is updated very frequently and has a full, extensive list of our current integrations that we have set up. If you don't see your integration listed here, feel free to reach out to us. More than likely, we're currently working on a formal integration with it, or if we can set up an integration via our email endpoint.
Yeah, we're constantly learning about new monitoring services and just great tools that would be excellent integrations into the VictorOps platform. So if there's something you're looking for that you're not finding, definitely reach out to us and let us know what you'd like. We love adding new monitoring services into our service, just sort of making it easier for everybody to be able to get their notifications out to the right team members.
Yeah. All right, and recently we've been working a lot on our reporting. We came out with a few more reports than we initially had when we started out with our post-mortems. I'm gonna go ahead and really quickly touch on our incident frequency report. These are gonna be more team-based generic kind of reports, but this one specifically takes a look at all the different pieces of your infrastructure and which ones are basically being the most noisy. So if you see an outlier here, you can work on them and bring them back into the proper parameters. But as you can see, they're listed from the most noisy to the least noisy. And if you highlight it, it'll show you the last alert that came in for that piece of infrastructure that's having issues.
Yeah, this is a really great report for beginning to sort of chip away at that noise that's coming in. So you can see on this very first example here, this one's coming in quite a bit. And so, as a member of this team, I have to ask the question, what's going on with this alert? Is this something that's really broken? Because if so, we should probably address it and get it fixed. Otherwise, it must just be something to do with some kind of noise that's really not relevant, and I don't need it paging me or waking me up in the middle of the night. So maybe we need to go into whatever monitoring service this is coming from, in this case CF Engine, and adjust our thresholds so that we don't get that alert as often.
Mm-hmm. All right. Now we'll just really quick highlight our post-mortem reports. These are really helpful in the wake of a huge incident or a firefight that you have going on. Being able to go back and take a look at the steps that were taken, the communication that happened, the alerts that came in, and present this to your larger organization, your team, or even to maintain a oh gosh.
Yeah, I mean, let's say for example, today we had some sort of an outage, and what time is it right now? It's going on 2:20. So let's take a look at maybe show us the data for what took place today between 1:30 p.m. and let's just say 2:15 or maybe 2 o'clock on the same day. So what's going to happen here as Eric's building this report is it's going to essentially show us what we were seeing in our timeline. This is going to include not only the incidents as they came in from the monitoring, but who was paged and who came in and acted them. Now, of course, we weren't really being super active in coming in and acting different alerts, nor were we adding a lot of context in the way of conversation. But as Eric's pointing out, you can come in and start to add your own notes. You can remove things that maybe you just don't feel are completely necessary to your postmortem. But you can see really quickly, because we have a really good idea of what took place during a certain time frame, in this case 1:30 to 2, we can provide you with your postmortem really, really quickly. And I'll show you here in a little bit how we're also able to provide additional annotations and additional information that's also going to be super useful once we get to the postmortem part.
Yeah, and as I was saying earlier, you can save this as a PDF and send it away to maintain an SLA. That's what this is especially helpful for, or you can just print it and pass it around through your organization. And at this time, I'm going to have Jason go ahead and speak a little bit more about one of our newest features we just came out with.
Yeah, so as I mentioned just a moment ago, we were in Las Vegas for the big AWS reInvent conference, and what we had done prior or leading into that event was actually prepare a new feature that we call the transmogrifier. And what the transmogrifier does is allows us to create rules, and from those rules we can then generate additional content which adds extra context to the information we're getting regarding our incidents, but also allows us to modify data as it comes in, which can be super powerful. So let me show you a little bit how that works. And also let me just mention that this is actually a beta feature. So if this is something that looks interesting to you, just reach out to one of us and we can sit down and talk to you and show you a really detailed demo about how all this works. And then we can talk about how we can get you into that beta, because we definitely want a lot of people in here testing it out and giving us your feedback on what you think of this. So anyway, I'm within the settings and I'm going to switch over to integrations. And we were in here just a minute ago, but we kind of skipped over this new section in here. So if you see, this is the alert transmogrifier. We've got two different sort of groups within the alert transmogrifier. One is our single match rules, and then down here is our multiple match rules. Now, for the most part, they work exactly the same with one main difference, and that is with the single match rules. Once a rule has been met, it actually stops processing and it won't continue on processing any more of those rules. Now with multiple match, it's actually going to continue on cascading down through all of the different rules regardless. So in this case, I've got a rule here that says when my host name, and when I say host name, we're looking for the host name field that's coming over from your monitoring system. But when this host name matches this db-victorops.com with a little wildcard in here, I want you to go ahead and show me a link. Okay, in this case, it's going to be a link to a run book. And it's going to be a very specific, or it can be a very specific run book, or it can be just a generic run book. And I also want to pull in a graph. And let me show you real quick how that works. So when I'm building these rules, and of course I said I want it to be a host name. And you can either manually type in the field that you want to search on and match, or you can just use our dropdown. But once that has been met, I want to display a URL. And in this case, it's going to be pointing to just sort of a sample wiki that we have going on. But if you notice here, we're also passing in a variable. And this variable is that same host name that's been identified from the payload in that monitoring data. So we're going to pass that variable into the URL, which then allows me to pull in dynamic links. And in this case, it's going to pull in a run book that's very, very unique or very specific to this problem. So as you can imagine, there's all kinds of different variety of problems that are going to be coming in, and you're going to have run books for a lot of different things potentially. So you don't want to just send someone to a generic run book. You actually want to send them to a run book that is very specific on how to deal with that unique problem. So that's how we allow you to do that. Additionally, we're also going to, in this case, provide an image URL. So what this is going to do is go out, and much like we did with the run book, it's going to pass in a variable and then grab an image for me that's basically a graph, a snapshot of what's going on at that point in time. And then below that, we've got the ability to transform the field. And I'll show you that here in just a moment. So that's kind of the high-level quick summary of how these alerts work when you start building out your rules within the transmogrifier. Now I'm going to scroll down just a little bit here and see if I can find an example where we're not only providing additional annotations, but we're also starting to modify some of the, I guess, data as it's coming in from our monitoring system. So in this example here, we're looking for the service description field to match database load. And when it does, we're going to provide a note that just gives me a little bit of information, and then also send me to a run book on how to sort of triage that problem, or at least diagnose a little bit better and figure out how to deal with that issue. And then once we're done adding additional notes or additional annotations, we're also going to take the next step of changing this match key field. So within, again, this is a field that's coming over in my monitoring system, but we're going to now modify this match key field to now read an entirely different set of, I guess, text or characters for that field. So what we're going to do here is actually pull in the host name from, again, from our monitoring system, pull in the service description and the entity state, and essentially just create a completely new field for the match key. And then you can see down here, 2 steps further, when the match key matches, in this case db7.victorops.com, and then database load and critical, which is likely something that would have been created in this rule. But if we see that that is now a field that we match on, I now want to change my routing key to something very unique. And once we've done that, now I can put all kinds of rules in terms of how we want to route alerts into the system based on this new value. So as you can probably see, we are able to sort of modify and massage data as it comes in to make sure it gets to the right people, to maybe make sure that you're not being alerted when you don't want to be, or maybe you're also going to begin taking a step towards automating some of the things that you want to fix. So as you can see just a little bit further, we've got some samples of Hubot. It is very easy for me to come in here and create a trigger that says if I spot something within a very particular field, that I want to go ahead and have Hubot take action for me, because honestly I'm going to do that anyway. So maybe while I'm taking a minute or two to get kind of logged into my system and start to look around, I'll go ahead and have Hubot take action on the thing that I would have done anyway. So as you can see, this is a very, very powerful tool. We got a lot of great feedback from it recently. It is in beta. We'd love to get you set up if you want to try this out. So just send me or Eric an email, and we'll definitely want to sit down with you and show you some more about how that works. Let me hop over into the timeline and just show you kind of the result of what is created based on those rules. So here's an example right here where you see 3 annotations. These annotations were generated by what was found within this data. So if I click on annotations, I'll see, one, I'm provided with a graph that's showing me disk usage, and I can see that it's gone up. I'm also given a little note here that this is something, maybe just around midnight, it should clear up on its own, which is good to know, especially in the middle of the night when you don't have any idea what's going on. That's a great note for me. And then lastly, our last kind of rule that we had set for this annotation is, why don't you go ahead and just give me a link to send me into GitHub and see if anything's changed with our code recently. Because it's very likely that maybe just, there's been a change, we pushed out something, some sort of patch that we thought was going to be not affecting anything, and actually it has, for whatever reason, sent our disk usage up. So it's really nice to be able to just provide this additional context right within the timeline, so you don't have to hop around all kinds of places. Of course, the point is to just speed up this process and get you back to doing what you were doing, or get you back to going to bed, and generally just making being on call suck less. So with that said, that's kind of the general explanation and demonstration of the transmogrifier, and I'm gonna hand it back over to Eric, and we'll try to wrap this thing up here in just a moment.
All right, thank you. All right, and that just about wraps up the core features and functionality of the VictorOps platform. As we mentioned before, if you guys need any help or have any additional questions, please feel free to reach out to us directly, or you can email us at support@victorops.com. We will get back to you as quickly as we can and handle any questions you might have. We have a 14-day free trial. You can go onto our website and sign up for that, and we'll reach out to you and see if we can help you make on-call suck less.
Yeah, thanks for joining us today. It's always a pleasure, and it's always fun doing these demos. But I'd love to hear from you. Send either one of us an email, or send an email to support if you have any questions. Certainly, we encourage you to sign up. It's going to be the most useful for you to just get in there and start pushing buttons and turning knobs and seeing what the platform can really do for you and your team. But when you get stuck, or you just have questions or comments, we'd love to hear from you. So anyway, I guess that's about it. And we'll go ahead and wrap up for this afternoon. And we'll do another one of these next week. Otherwise, we hope to hear from you soon.
Thank you.
See ya.